Our son is asleep. Even after a week of begging him to wake up, of praying for his safety, he's still sleeping. All the children are sleeping. It started when they climbed out of bed. We heard them stumbling down hallways and bumping into vases. A few parents must have opened their doors because they soon filled the streets, a herd of sleepwalkers in nightgowns and pajamas. Jeremy was having a difficult time fumbling with our door, though. He was moving too quickly. He kept on twisting and turning the knob for a couple of minutes before he got it right. Once he did, I followed him outside. Mary wanted to come along too, but I wouldn't have that. I told her to stay inside as I fetched our son. She sobbed and nodded, wiping away tears. It was a startling sight, all those boys and girls. Hundreds of them. It must have been every child in town. And their parents were following them. I heard screaming from the other houses down the street, mothers calling for their daughters and fathers shouting at their sons. Police officers walked between the kids with flashlights in tow. I could tell that they had no idea what was happening either. I caught up to Jeremy and grabbed his arm, trying to haul him back inside. He just ignored me. He kept on stumbling ahead. An alien. Come to think of it, the whole herd was alien in some unspeakable way. It's difficult to put into words, and I've thought about it every night since. But the children had the same expression on their faces. Stone cold indifference. It didn't fit right on them. The human body is meant to be expressive. We have muscles that allow any type of smile and frown and pout. But those kids, they weren't smiling, or frowning, or even pouting. They weren't doing anything. It was unnatural in the most incomprehensible fashion. I felt like I was in the presence of something obscene. Like I said before, it's hard to explain these feelings in detail. The herd moved out of the neighborhood. It crossed several blocks, from the shopping mall to the high school, before the hill came into view. I felt my stomach drop. I bet all the other parents did too. The hill wasn't tall, but it was steep. Yet, the kids managed to scale it with ease. They didn't trip over rocks. It didn't matter if they stepped on an anthill or not. They were determined to reach the top, and they did. By that time, the sun was starting to peek from below the horizon, splattering the dark sky with pink. The whole journey had taken an hour. Nobody was crying or screaming. We were just silent. We watched as our children formed rings of 6, rings within rings. We waited for them to hold hands, to sing, to play Ring Around the Rosie, to do anything. They just stood there. They tilted their heads back and opened their mouths and just stood there, silent as ever. Everyone was silent. For a few seconds. I scanned the rings and rings and rings and finally found him. Jeremy. He was standing between these 2 teenage girls, still. I ran to him. He didn't notice me as I leaned over him. I stared down at his face and screamed. His eyes were open. I could see nothing in them. He will never wake up.